final speaker who is just fabulous. So she's got a bio which is so long, and I usually pride myself on being able to memorize bits and pieces about what people have done and what they're all about. This is not possible for me, I'm sorry. But again, like Sammy, is someone who walks that business line really well in terms of like her accountancy experience and business experience and all of that. And like the spiritual side is so well integrated and so qualified in so many different disciplines. It's incredible. And the reason I asked her to take the stage is I saw her take the stage at a previous event, and the amount of energy, love, wisdom that just exudes from this woman is phenomenal. So we are very blessed to have her here. Please welcome to the stage, Marilyn Devonish.
So when I was thinking about wisdom, what I thought I would do, because a lot of my work now encompasses the mind, the body, the spirit, and the soul. So what I wanted to share with you is kind of a nugget of wisdom from each of those. The first in terms of the mind, and it was something that dawned on me about 25 years ago. I just got a new job, about 3 months into it, and then I realised it wasn't the job I thought it was. And I had been that person who'd be in a job for a year or two, then I'd get a new job because my boss was terrible, the company was terrible, my colleagues were terrible, people weren't seeing my potential, I wasn't being able to do the things I want to do, the opportunities that were promised weren't there, and suddenly I had this dawning realisation. I almost heard the words in my head. It was almost like the first time where I had the experience of, I hear voices, where a voice had said to me, wherever you go, there you are. And I was about 25 years old, and I didn't stumble into personal development until I was 32. So it took me a while to really grasp what those words meant. But I realised that I could change jobs every week. I could be in a new relationship every week. We're back to the water. I could move country, I could move house, I could do all of these things. And if I wasn't happy within myself, then it didn't really matter about the external circumstances. And so when I then discovered personal development, I realised that when I, as we say in Huna terms, am pono, and right with myself, then things, regardless of what's going on around me, there could be chaos and turbulence and crazy stuff, and that isn't going to have the same depressing impact that it was having on my life thus far. And that really changed my mindset in terms of the way I looked at life. So the first little nugget is wherever you go, there you are. Get yourself into alignment first, and then you're going to have a clearer steer in terms of what's going on around you. The second one with the body, and this was something that was brought home to me a couple of weeks ago. So Marilyn, you are the only person I know who has ever had their gym membership application rejected. Where do I even begin? I went from a size 8 to a size 16. I lost all my hair and went completely bald. I looked like pizza face girl in terms of the black heads, the white heads, you name it, I had them. Chronically tired, and decided, you know what, I've got to get myself back in shape. I've got to get a handle on my body, so I'm going to join the gym. So I fill out the forms, I do all the things, and he does the caliper test first of all. So he gets a caliper and he pinches your skin, and then he wrote some numbers down, and he wrote them down again, and then he reached in his drawer and got a calculator. He looked a bit confused. Then he did the pulse test, so he put his hand, on my wrist, wrote some numbers down, looked even more perturbed at this point, wrote them down again, got the calculator, and then rummaged in his drawer and came out with a stethoscope. Put it on my chest, looked a little bit alarmed, and they said, I'm really sorry, Miss Devonish, we're not going to be able to allow you to join the gym. And I thought he was going to say, the system's down or something like that. He says, I don't know how, but you are pretty much on the verge of being morbidly obese, but it's not even that, because of course that's what the gym's for. But he said your heart rate is 220 beats a minute. Now, regular heart rate, 60, 70 beats a minute if you're sitting around doing nothing, maybe 100, 120 if you're pushing yourself. I was literally just sat next to this man watching him fill out paperwork. And he therefore said, we cannot take the risk. The only way you can join this gym is if you go back to your doctor, you get a medical certificate, and you bring that in, and it's going to basically absolve us of responsibility. So that's what I did. So I was at that gym for a few years. Then I was in a situation where I'd given up work. I used to work for an investment bank in the city, gave that up to study to be a chartered accountant, and then the whole world just crashed around my ears. Because what the deal was, I took time off work and I was going to study. My partner was then working and supporting me. The plan was when I qualified as a chartered accountant, he was going to take time off to do his pilot's license, and I was going to support him. Then he had an affair, so we split up. So now I find myself unemployed, struggling with my studies, because at that point, that's when I was also diagnosed with what was thought to be early onset Alzheimer's. And I was like, oh my God, this is all going wrong. And then I had to give up my fancy gym memberships over a period of time, because it was at that point I had a really bad chronic thyroid problem. And so I didn't even need to look at food. And I would, double in weight. I could put on 2-3 stone in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks. It was really that bad. And so I'd gotten really out of shape, and then I was too embarrassed to join my local gym, which was a fraction of the price of my posh gym. And sat on the sofa one day, and this was in the days where I used to watch Coronation Street, and Brookside, and EastEnders, and whatever else I could find to lose myself in. And I'm sat there and I'm looking down at myself and I'm thinking, you look disgusting. This is, no. And that was around the time I was creeping up to those suicidal thoughts as well. And I sat on the sofa, doing nothing, waiting in the ad break, and that voice came back again and said, why don't you roll out your exercise mat and do some stretches in the ad break? So I rolled out the mat in the ad breaks, did some stretches. Next ad break came on. The voice came back and says, well, you've done some stretches, why don't you do some press-ups? So I got off the sofa, I did some press-ups. The next ad break came round, it's like, well, you've done some stretching, you've done some press-ups, why don't you get back on the mat and do some sit-ups? And that's what I did. And I did that several times a week for about 6 months. And then I was in town one day, met a friend that I used to work with. First thing he said to me is like, oh my God, have you been working out? And I was like, no, I haven't. And then suddenly it dawned on me, it was the cumulative effect of the little and often. And so the second little gem I will share with you is start from where you are with what you've got. Because I didn't have the fancy gym, I didn't have all the equipment, it was me, the mat, the ad break, and the Dynaband. And that was basically it. And it was a big reminder and wake-up call that I know everybody sometimes wants to do it in a big, fantastic, lightning bolts are coming down, do everything at once. But actually, the cumulative effect of a couple of minutes here, and a couple of minutes there, and a couple of minutes there was really, really powerful. So start from where you are with what you've got and just do what you can. And the third one, in terms of the spirit and the soul, very simple. One of the things I would say, in terms of question to self, is what is it that makes your heart and soul sing? What raises you up? What gives you that sense of expansion? And the second part of that, in terms of looking at the soul and what you're here on this earth to do, a very simple question, what is your soul destiny? And if you've had a soul plan reading, well, just look at your soul plan, it's right there in the centre of the star. If you haven't, put it out there as a question to yourself, and maybe even a question to the universe, and then remain open. Now, if you've got very good rapport with yourself and with your mind and with your spirit and with your soul, the answer might come in a flash straight away, and at other times it might be something you use as a meditative process. And it may even be that several weeks from now, several months from now, even several years from now, because it can be an evolving question as well, something will come to mind and say, this is it. This is what you are here to do. And sometimes I say here to do now, because I know that I've lived many iterations in terms of changes of career and things that I'm doing and things that I'm interested in. So this might not be the one thing, but at least having an idea of that as you're going through this journey called life, that can be just fantastically refreshing. Thank you so much for the Inspired stage. Thank you, Shay, for the invitation. And thank you for being a wonderful audience.
What are you most excited about right now?
I have to say, say, one of the things I'm really excited about at the moment, because I've been talking about going global, and so I've started transitioning my in-person workshops into online webinars so that people can take part from anywhere in the world. And I was sat at my desk last week and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm trying to figure out the time zones, because everybody wants to join live, even though they've got lifetime access to the recordings. And there was somebody in Australia, we had Canada, we had the United States, we had Europe, we had Switzerland, we had the UK, and I suddenly thought, oh my God, with the online platform where people can join from anywhere in the world, it's global, and I'm really excited about the possibilities for that.
Wonderful. Okay, well, looking forward to seeing more of that. Let's hear it once again from Marilyn Devonish, ladies and gentlemen.